Hey, Shane, excited to do our first episode here, chatting all things AI, entrepreneurship, media, and the intersection of all these things, specifically for builders. So stoked to do it, man. Thanks for being my co-host here on this one.
Yeah, no. Super pumped to get this going. We've been talking about it for a while, so I'm excited. And there probably isn't a better time to start this than now because things are starting to heat up.
I mean, yes, you are spot on. It is a crazy time in so many ways. Um, But, one of the first things I wanted to start with, we were literally just chatting 5 minutes ago. And right before I hit record, I have ADHD business version. So I'm always looking at my email. And I saw something super interesting literally 5 minutes ago, and you don't even know what it is yet. Um, and I just kind of want to go over it because I think it's interesting related to AI in terms of this is probably something people should buy, even though I haven't even dug into it deeply yet. Um, and it also talks about the power of building an audience and how you can leverage that. So let me share my screen and we'll go over this. There's a brand I think you and I have talked about a few times that I really, really like for many reasons. I've been following them for a few years and they've been blowing up in the last year or so. They've blown up a ton, which is a brand called Every. So it's every.to. And essentially, this is a media brand around AI. So they write very detailed, walkthroughs and ideas about how to use AI. It's like it's not a media brand in terms of like what Sam Altman is doing or the news of AI. It's more about how a media brand about new models, how to use them, how to build your operating system, how to use Hermes agents, the stuff like that. It's a great brand. They do a lot of cool stuff. But here's the interesting part: if you can't see the screen, they just launched what they're calling their all access, every all access. It says get more than $7,000 in AI tools, and then you get everything about putting them to work, whatever. So here's why this is interesting. Tell me what you think, Shane. First off, you and I have talked about Lenny's bundle before, right? Do you know about Lenny's bundle?
Yeah. You told me about it like last year. He was pretty early on in like the bundle packing of all of the new AI tools, right?
That's right. So Lenny, his name's Lenny Rachinsky, another guy everybody should be following. Watch his YouTube. He's the biggest, like, technically he's like a product manager show, but really I think about him as an AI builder, software builder type of show, whatever. And he was the first one to come up with this concept and do it in a way that just is shocking to me. And again, being very deep in local media, I'm still trying to think how I build something like this in local media. But he essentially is saying, hey, I have your ideal audience to the AI companies, right? To the big ones, but especially the smaller ones, right? Like Whisperflow and Cursor and Railway and tools like this. And so he goes to them and says, look, you guys have all this money. You've raised a lot of VC funds and you just need to show growth. You need more people using your tools. I have your ideal audience. Why don't you give all my audience a free year and I will, I'm assuming he's doing it for free just to get them their brand value to every. He's not charging them anything to be on this all access pass where their brand promotes them, right? So it's kind of this circular value prop. The audience, which in this case would be us or anyone listening to this, you get $7,000 in awesome value for, call it $300. The brands get the value of getting in front of their ideal audience that Every has spent 5 years building. And Every gets value because now they're going to get more subscribers because they're offering way more value to their audience. And so Lenny has essentially already proven this. I had bought Lenny's bundle about 15 months ago when he first announced it because I was following him back then. And it was a home run deal. I just lost it 3 months ago and I'm pissed because now I'm paying for all these freaking softwares and I can't really switch and try to do the trick of using a different email because I'm already using all these softwares. If I switch my email, it's like I'm starting over and I can't do it. So anyway, what are your thoughts here on, let's say really twofold. Number one, for the, AI specifically, what they're giving away here, which we can go over in a second, but then just also the media model of building an audience and then leveraging it by partnering with businesses that want access to that audience. I'm curious if any of these jump out at you.
Yeah, I mean it's super cool. I mean, can you go back up? First of all, I just noticed something. It said "Every" by Dan Shipper. I don't know if you guys, is that his real name? Because if he's a developer and his last
Yeah,
name's Shipper,
his name. Yeah, that is his real name. Yeah,
that's already just like
yeah.
great, like built-in marketing for
There you
yourself.
go. I didn't
That's
think about that, but yes, you're right.
but the next thing I would say is, yeah, this is super cool. I probably should have jumped on Lenny's bundle.
Hmm.
To me, when I look at something like this, like, can we go through like what's actually in it? But like my first take on these is like,
Here's Lenny's, by the way, for anyone watching. But go ahead.
so yeah, he's got. I guess they're all not just AI, right? Like there are a lot of tools just with AI baked in that I guess you would use
Yeah,
in a daily
like
workflow.
Notion.
So I didn't buy the last one, the Lenny's bundle, but like when you bought this, I guess you have a certain amount of time to use all of these credits or tokens that you have within your, your bundle or whatever. But did you find that this caused more like anxiety of like I got to use all these tools and they're kind of all doing something similar or not? But like that's the reason I didn't buy it, to be honest, was because I had Claude, it was working for me, and I didn't just want to. The whole reason around AI for me was like I wanted to use less tools. I wanted to use one tool for everything. So I don't know
So
that. Let
yeah,
me
no,
know.
it's actually an interesting question. I'm glad you brought that up because that is super relevant. So number one, I would say no, I didn't have any stress about using them. I don't care. I think that the key takeaway with any of these things, because and I've talked about this in my dad's group. We have a good AI chat, a lot of smart dads that I know. And whenever I bring this up in there, I'm like, guys, I swear I don't know Lenny. He does not pay me. He doesn't give a shit about me. But I constantly promote this because I think it's such a home run. And every time people are like, yeah, but if I sign up for these things, then they're going to charge me in a year, uh, when the year's up. And the answer is yes, absolutely. That is their goal. So that is part of the downside. But there's an easy solution to that, which is use either, a gift card type of Visa or know that you need to cancel or, call the credit card company to get a new one 11 months from now, so you do have to be prepared and protect yourself against that because I fully admit some of these I signed up for and I couldn't even remember the login properly on some of them. And it's like, so I did the cancel credit card thing. So I've had no issues with it. So that would be number one. And then like this one, like Chat PRD, I signed up for this. I think I logged in once when I got it. I don't know what's going on, what it is. Same with Magic Patterns is kind of cool for design. I think I tried it a couple times, whatever. Mobin, again, not something you'd probably use very much. But here's what I would say. The key takeaway here, Shane, to your point is the tools that I understand your point of like Claude, because I even am using all the tools. Well, let's say I use Codex and Claude. I have both $200 plans right now. Plus, I use some other stuff and it does get really confusing, right? To your point. So that is a challenge. But some of these tools, I think about them more as either back-end tools or things where I just want to cross-reference what's possible. So for a long time, when I still had Lenny's bundle at the time, because these tools change all the time on his thing, I had Replit, I had Lovable, Bolt, which Bolt seems to have kind of disappeared, but it's basically the same thing as Lovable, and V0. I had 4 of them and Google's version. So I had 5. And I would just drop whatever I wanted to build in all 5 of them just to see the difference.
Right.
Right. So it kind of gives you that ability to just test things out in different areas to see what different stuff, especially when it comes to like a lot of that was like website design stuff. So I would just drop them. But then the other key takeaway, and I know you know this, Shane, because I'm pretty sure you're a customer, a lot of the backend tools, specifically like Railway, right? You use Railway, right?
I do, yeah. Yeah, that's
Yep.
what I post all my, yeah.
Exactly. So Railway is not like a front end tool that you use. It's like how things get powered on the back end. So that one is one that, again, I don't see any world where I don't use Railway forever.
Yeah.
Right. Linear, same thing. So and Linear even comes with 5 seats. So we can talk more about Linear. Actually, we should probably talk about it, dude, in a minute after we finish the every chat. We can talk about Linear because I just installed Linear into my back end like 2 weeks ago. And I really think it's going to be a total and complete game changer. So, and this comes with 5 seats. That's like freaking amazing. And I am paying cash right now, 10 or $15 a month or something like that for Linear. I'm paying 15 or something for Railway. I'm paying 15 a month for Whisperflow, which looks like it's almost gone from Lenny's. I mean, that's already double what Lenny's bundle costs. Oh, and the other big one right here, Supabase. So Supabase I pay for. I pay like, I'm already at like $60 a month in Supabase as the database layer, right? So anyway, that's how I would think about the whole like, oh, I don't want a bunch of tools, because a lot of people think that way. But some of these tools you need on the back end if you're building real businesses.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I wanted to see what was in every, because like some of these make sense, like the stack that you have to make up, right? Like it's some of them overlap, but they've done a pretty decent job. While you were going through that, I was just thinking, right? Like if you're just a regular dude, like who just started using AI, or regular guy or girl, whatever, and you have like, because like 2 years ago when I first started using AI, I would have looked at that list and I just would have been like, I don't know what any of this is. Like what's Supabase? What's like
Yeah, oh, totally.
100%.
100%.
And so there's almost like a need for someone to like go back to these tools and then like show people who are just using Claude or Claude Code like what they actually all need to do. Because I remember being there, like I built something in Replit like 2.5 years ago, and I was just sitting there and like I remember I was talking to one of my developer like buddies, and he was like, "You gotta like back this up on GitHub." I was like, "What? What's GitHub?"
Yeah, what's GitHub? Yeah,
I didn't even know.
That's for developer people. I don't know about that.
Yeah, but now that everyone's kind of a developer, just like like I wouldn't say that go that far, but everyone can develop their own little tools for their companies or themselves. Like people should know, and there should also almost be a stack that has like like some more like SMB toolkit style stuff too, which would be cool to connect the two. But anyway, that's just my
yes. Yeah, no, I think you're, dude, totally. So what's Supabase? I mean, dude, to be honest, I still struggle with Railway. Like, I get it's like the always on thing. And I still couldn't explain what Railway is or does. I know I use it and the AI uses it for me, but it is a little confusing. But you need it as you go deeper, right? And so I think the other key that people should think about with whether it's the Everyone or the Lenny's bundle is if you're thinking about it, sign up now, because I'll have to look into the Everyone, but I assume it's going to be the same as Lenny's bundle, which is they do not give you this stuff if you've already been a user, right? So if you've already been using, Notion is on Every and Lenny's. If you already have a Notion account, like they're not going to give it to you, right? So you need to make sure that the first time you sign up for these tools is via these bundles, not on your own. Because then when you buy the bundle, they're going to be like, oh, you're already a customer, you can't use it.
Right.
So anyways, all right, that's enough about these bundles. But I think what makes me super interested in this is the fact that you and I come from the media background. I do a lot of my primary thing is the local media stuff and all the software I'm building for local media. But it all boils down to the same thing, right? Which is, it's also why we're doing this show, right? Let's be honest. We're doing it because we want to build an audience of smart people. When you have an audience, you can then leverage that to put interesting things in front of the audience that can bring you value, whether it's selling your own product, selling someone else's product. In this case, it's kind of both. And, build trust with people to know like, hey, yes, I am somebody worth trusting, especially in the world of AI when there's going to be so much dishonesty in terms of things just all being AI, whether it's content, video or text. So being a human, being trustworthy, being a brand and a person that people can count on is going to earn you the eyeballs. And when you have the eyeballs, you can do all kinds of different things. And this is just one thing that you can do is these, this bundle concept, go to companies that your audience is their ideal clients and do things like this. So a lot of synergies here with the world that we're in.
Yeah, this is super cool. I'm going to take a look in for sure, see what the offers are. But
yeah. So, hey, you want to just talk about Linear real quick? Because I think you and I haven't talked about Linear at all. And I'm not an expert at it, but I feel like it might be worth throwing out there. Some people might want to dig into it with what I've seen so far using it for a couple weeks and kind of dug in with AI on its value. Do you know much about Linear at this point?
I used it a little bit like a year ago when I was working on a project with some exterior people for like task management throughout the development process. But I haven't used it since then. So
Okay.
you probably know more than I do. So
Yeah, and well, I'm still not an expert at it, but I just want to throw this out there high level. What I'm still working on building, and this can be a conversation we have at some point of how AI is unbelievably amazing and unbelievably infuriating and difficult and sucks at the exact same time. Both are true, but the linear angle that I'm working on, and again, we'll dig in on another episode of what I'm building, especially when it starts to work. But is this idea of linear being your task manager, your to I almost think about it as like a to-do list for agents. Okay.
right.
So what linear is really good at is specifically being for agents. So I almost think about it. I'm actually working on this right now. Is like, okay, ClickUp is a project management tool. Now it has AI supposedly, whatever, but it's like it's primarily meant for humans to use, right? But linear is like, at least the way I'm using it is like, no, that linear is for agents to use. Like I barely look at linear. I don't even know if I've looked at it once just to like see what it looks like. But
Yeah.
I'm using it on a daily basis, right? Kind of like Railway, right? And so the agents, really, it's my Hermes system, is pushing things to do to linear. And then what happens is the agents what they do is they watch linear for tasks to do. Okay. So just a quick high level of what I'm building. And it's even more complicated than this because I'm trying to use the Mac Mini as my builder. But the idea is when you want to build something in Codex or Claude Code or whatever, don't build them there. Use them as your manager. And then as a manager, they assign the build, like the plan, essentially. They push the plan to linear. And then you have another agent or agents or system that reads linear and then goes and builds from linear, right? And the other angle of what I do with this, or I'm again working on, it's working but not perfectly, is I use a tool called Conductor. We've talked a little bit about Conductor, right? How much have you used it much yet?
I haven't used it at all.
You haven't used it. Okay. So Conductor, unfortunately, is Mac only, but I did convert to Mac for the first time in my life a few months ago. I would probably recommend everybody do it at this point. Even if you're an Apple hater like me, it's still worth it. But Conductor is really good for building multiple branches, right? Like I don't, again, I'm non-technical, you're non-technical, but like you can build multiple things to the same product at the same time because Conductor's really good about separating out branches. And so the play is build the plan in Claude or Codex or whatever. That plan goes to linear. The agent system on my Mac Mini sees it on linear and then can see that, hey, there's 3 different branches that need to be built here. It can go into Conductor. You manage the Conductor build of 3 different branches at the same time.
Right.
Right.
So basically, linear
yeah.
is like your task management project for agents, so that things don't get lost or overridden like in the process.
Yes.
Because if you're like me, when I'm building, like I'm just word vomit. Like I have
Yes.
like
100%.
terminals open. I'm just like boom, 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 boom,
Yep.
boom. Go for a walk, come back, see what's built. I don't know what happened in the meantime. So and so your agents are actually updating that flow as it goes in linear, and then on your back end, Conductor is actually doing the work of delineating between where these branches are going on per project. So like, do you have like every single thing you're working on in linear at once? Like if you're building like 4 or 5 different tools for yourself, everything just goes into linear. Your agents are managing the projects in linear, and then Conductor is actually building them through its little like branch or tree process. And for anyone who's non-developer, like how would you explain a branch? It's like
God, I'm how do you do that? I don't know.
I don't know either.
So I think the way I'm thinking about it, again, I'm learning as we're going, is like things that don't touch that are separate. So one of the downsides is you don't want to build 2 things at the same time if they could be touching each other in your software,
Yes.
right? Because then that's where things get convoluted. But if you're building, hey, on my website part of my app, I want this thing to be happening. And then on my newsletter side of my app, I want this to happen. And then on my ad management feature, I want this to happen. Those are all separate things that don't touch each other. So they can all just splinter off onto their own branches to build each individual feature set. And then the branches get merged back in once they've all been tested and confirmed and whatnot. And because they don't touch each other, the odds of problems is very, very small, right? But you do run into problems, and this is where I'm still struggling to this day of doing things that do touch each other. That's when you get regression, right? So like, for example, like yesterday, talking about frustration, like, I go into the tool to make, a couple changes to these 3 parts of the software. And then I go in and look, and 2 other things got worse that had nothing to do with what I talked about.
Yeah.
Right. And I still am working on the solution to that. I don't know, but it is very frustrating because it happens very, very frequently. And this is why what the biggest thing I'm building right now that has taken me easily 100 hours over the last 6 months to try to get it right, and I'm still haven't, but is creating what I would consider like your operating system, right? Which is how do my agents work for me? How do I want them to build? Yeah. Right? What are the rules for how they have to do things? Right. And that is how if you can get it right, which is very difficult. I'm still struggling after 100+ hours. But if you get it right, what you're doing is you're building like a sandbox of how the AI needs to work without you having to understand it. Right. So like here's a simple one is like, okay, after you do something, after you build something, you have a second agent go redline it and find the problems, and then give you a report on anything it got wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. That's huge, right? Because the biggest problem that people will run into, and I still struggle with this, even though I'm getting a lot better, you will feel like your agent is a genius when it tells you what it wants to do and what it did. You're just going to be like, this freaking thing is so damn smart. Like, look at how it's listing out everything it did and how great this is.
Yeah.
And then if you actually cross-reference it with another agent, it's going to be like, this guy's an idiot. He got this wrong. He got this wrong. He got this wrong. And it's right that you got it all wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And you won't know. And so, but the point is, you can build into your operating system to have that happen automatically so that you don't have to remember to do it. And that's the gold. It's just freaking hard.
Yeah, it's extremely hard because if you don't know what's going on in the back end, you actually don't know what the problem was caused. And AI is really bad about telling you that in layman's terms of like, here's what's going on. And then like, you could just layer agent after agent after agent after agent, but they're not perfect yet. And I think you alluded to that at the start of the conversation. Like they are so extremely smart and we're so lucky to have this technology. It's just not to the point yet where it's taking on the full end goal and getting it completely done the way that you want it. So like I was thumbing through like my agents last week and it was kind of funny because I like when I started building my AI operating system, just like you were talking about, my version, I was like, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna build a marketing agent, a sales agent, a customer service agent. So I went through all of the different like roles that I would want, and then I started building my agents. And then I sat down one day and I realized that I just gave myself the best management job ever. And now I'm just managing a bunch of employees that I didn't have before. And now that gave me a new role to do. And it's actually taking up more time than it is saving at the moment. And I don't know that a lot of people you see are actually saying that. You hear about like, oh, I created an army of agents and now my company runs itself. And like I'll be honest, I don't think it's like that. Or maybe I'm doing something wrong, but it's definitely not like that yet. The goal is to get there.
Yes.
But it's almost like I created a new role for myself within a role that never existed before because I didn't have those types of employees. So that's been an issue for me. And
I think
the constant maintenance is kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, the maintenance. So here's I think the key takeaway for people is basically what you said. So and I'll show my Hermes system here in a second to kind of go over one thing I've been doing, or a couple things, but basically what you're talking about is the Hermes agent, the open claw, these things that have been happening for about 6 months now, where people are talking about building these agents that kind of like work autonomously and do all this stuff. My take, having been doing this again, I'm working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week at this point on this, and have been for basically at least since December. Now I've been doing the AI stuff for 3 years, but probably was not working 14-hour days until about December when everything changed in December, right? With all the Claude code and everything. My instinct is to say it is possible what you're describing. Like some of the people who are saying, hey, I have a whole team, I have a sales agent, I have a customer service agent, I all these things happening all the time and they're so good. I do think it's possible, but it is so hard that unless somebody is insanely technical and business savvy, because like a lot of technical people have no idea what problems to solve here.
Yeah.
So for those that are super tech savvy and business savvy, I do think it's possible. But for like people like us, right, you're, non-technical entrepreneurs, it is so hard to do these things and time consuming that like you should, if anything, I do think people should be working on this, but you should just do one thing, right? And this is, I guarantee you, if I went into my Codex or Claude right now and said, why am I screwing up so much? I know the first thing it's going to say is you're trying to do too much.
Yeah.
I know because I've asked it that and it tells me every time. And, that's what most people like us instinct is, right? It's like, well, it can do all this stuff and I'm not really doing it. Why can't it just do one thing versus 5 things? Like, why not just do 5? Right? Because it'll tell you it's doing it and it's working, but it won't. Right. And there's so many intricacies, again, like even like building software, even if this is more like agent and like actions, it's not software per se. There's so many intricacies when you get toward the end that you just don't think are hard. Like you'll feel, again, it's like getting to the 90% done mark is easy, right? Getting from 90% to 100% is so freaking hard. Yeah. So that's part of the problem is you get this feeling of like you're making insane progress very quickly, which you sort of are, but then you'll hit all these problems when you want it to work properly every single time. And what happens is when you do 5 things like I do, you then get to that 90% mark and things start breaking and not working. And then you go, but then now you have 5 things you have to fix instead of 1. And then you just get overwhelmed with trying to fix all these different things to get to the 100% mark. And then you just want to tear your hair out, which is kind of where I am a lot of times.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think where I went wrong personally was, and this is, you and I have always talked about going back to basics, is the first 3 agents I ever made are the best agents I've ever made. And they still operate exactly like they did today because I didn't take an entire role and try to make a marketing agent. I literally took one workflow that used to take me 15 minutes, create an agent for it, and then that was it. And those ones still work perfectly to this day. And that's where I'm actually seeing the most value. But it's hard to do that over and over again because the time it took to finish that one workflow took a lot of time. And the testing of these agents live, I find is the most time consuming, hardest part. Because the easiest part is going through it with Claude or Codex and making your agent, getting it hosted. And you're like, okay, sweet, your agent's made and, it's all good. It's hosted in Slack or wherever you are. But once you put it out into the real world where real things happen and it's not just like, you testing it with Codex or whatever and it going, hey, all good, buddy, agent's done. That's when things start to blow up. And that's when it's really, really time consuming because everything doesn't work as you think in the real world, right? Just like when you hire like a human employee, right? Like you hand them an onboarding doc and then, 3 days in, they come back to you and they're like, hey, this person called and said this though, and that wasn't in the onboarding doc. And you're like, right, because that happens 3% of the time, but there's 100 things that happen 3% of the time. And so then your list for your agent skills and instructions becomes, as long as an old Roman scroll, and then it starts to hallucinate, and then you got to pick and choose when do things come back to me? How does it work when it does come back to me? Do I talk back to you and you go fix it, or do I just go fix it? Like those are all the unknowns I feel like of this like agentic era. I think we're only 3 years into this whole thing, really. Like when was ChatGPT released? Like I don't know. Like,
22. At the end of 22, it's so 3.5 years. But again, ChatGPT was not, agentic, right? So it's like, I feel like what we're talking about now is 6 months old.
Right. Yeah. Like true agentic, like AI doing like finishing tasks. Yeah. Like it's cool. It's almost there, but the building part is fun. The fixing part is not so fun.
Yeah. And I think kind of the summary of what you're saying, and I'll show it here. I think this is actually a pretty good example is try to start as small as possible and don't get excited about doing all the things that are possible. Like when you brainstorm with with AI, it's going to give you all these ideas of things you can do, and don't do them. Just figure out one that's super high value, but also not that complicated. Don't start with like, I want to build an agent that's just going to go get me tons of customers by doing cold email and LinkedIn and Twitter DMs. Like, again, that's too complicated. Don't do that. But so here's the one that I've built. One of the ones in my Hermes agent in Slack. So by the way, real quick, the high level here, because I have seen some big time engineers, I think even some at OpenAI and Anthropic, have talked about this idea that so we're already hearing about concepts of loops. And, they say like, I don't prompt anymore. Prompting's dead. Just do loops, right? Which is like, you just brainstorm what you want, and then the agent comes up with the plan, and then it builds the whole thing, and then you just check it at the end after it checks itself first. That's kind of what I'm trying to build right now. But even better than that is, what if you didn't even use Claude or Codex or Conductor or any of these apps at all? What if the only thing you ever used was Slack? And that, to me, is like the holy crap, the holy grail, right? In terms of simplicity and making things easy, is you literally just have one interface for everything, which is Slack. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to share my Slack here, and I'm struggling. Where is Slack? Let's see. Oh, here it is.
Like, do you like? Am I nuts for thinking that like why isn't Anthropic or ChatGPT just like building this into their interfaces? Like,
I'm certain that. So I've heard somebody talking about this. So two things that I think for sure, OpenAI and Anthropic are working on building is, number one, Slack competitor, for the exact reason you just said. Like, they're just going to try to come up with their own version of Slack. And then number two is their own version of G Suite, like email system, Google Drive, like all that stuff. They're going to probably come out with those at some point, for sure. It just makes too much sense, and for them to own the whole stack. Again, that's just complicated, right? This just takes time. I mean, I know they're moving very fast, but that's the kind of stuff that's probably a bit more complicated than upgrading the UI, right?
Yeah, I know. In my stupid little mind of not knowing what's going on, like, to me, it's like, you built super intelligence. I feel like a messaging app is probably in your wheelhouse.
Maybe. I mean, it is in their wheelhouse, yeah. But I mean, the thing with Slack, and back to your point, by the way, here's another example: is freaking Slack, right? You just think this is so easy. Like, so you can see my AI agent bot is called Flexo right here, and the amount of problems that you have setting this stuff up. Once you do it, it's just, again, you can't understand until you start doing it, which is like, okay, so Flexo is an AI agent. It's technically an app. Like, from Slack's perspective, it is an app. And then to have an app, how do apps work? Are apps allowed to talk? How do they talk? Are they allowed to read content? Are they allowed to write content?
Yeah.
Like, if you open the Slack settings for an agent, or an app, sorry, it's like there's like 50 options. It's crazy. So every time I start doing something and I'm like, why won't Flexo, or why doesn't the Slack system do this? And it's like, oh, well, there's a setting in Slack that needs to be changed to allow for that.
Yeah.
And you're just constantly going back and forth, like changing this stuff. It's insane. So, but here's one of the things I built that's kind of what I would consider a good example of probably something to start with, if, obviously it's specific to somebody doing YouTube, but everybody knows how YouTube thumbnails, how important they are. And, we've all talked now with ChatGPT's new image generator, that it's kind of solved this ability it can make great thumbnails. The problem is, how do you streamline the process? And so I was like, that's a perfect example of Slack. I saw it on another guy's YouTube video. So what he does, and I've basically incorporated, is he will, have the standard, call it prompt or whatever, design style system of how it should do thumbnails. And then it will create, you give it the topic, and it will create, he did 3 thumbnails. Then it has an agent go review the 3, pick the best one. Then it will write out why it's not perfect, right? So it'll score it and be like, okay, the best one is this one. It's an 85 out of 100. Here's why it didn't get 100 out of 100. The eyes are looking the wrong way. The smile is too big. You know, blah, blah, blah. Then with that information plus the reference image, it will create 3 more based on that. Then the review agent will go back in, review those 3, and pick the best one, and then send the best one.
Right.
Okay. So that's the workflow that I saw this guy doing. And I can't remember how he was doing, if he was doing a Hermes or not, I don't know. But like, I was like, okay, let me build that in a Hermes. Again, taking a lot of back and forth, a lot of regression to it. Worked a couple times, then it stopped working, and just insane. But I think I got it working here. So I just plugged this in to show you how it works right here. While you were talking, see at 11:55, it's now 12:02. So it's been 7 minutes since I typed this. I said, create a thumbnail for the episode that we're literally talking on right now that says how great AI is, but how frustrating it is at the same time. Okay. Then Flexo responded and he said, I'm on it. I logged this thumbnail job for worker pickup in Linear. Okay. So like we talked about earlier with Linear, Flexo put this job as a to-do, a task in Linear. And then he's saying, I'll report back. And he gave me an ETA. It's been logged. I should get it back in 10 to 20 minutes. Okay. So, and then here's one. Let's look at this one that I did yesterday. So here you go. So same thing. This one, you can see it actually got a bug. It said it didn't do it. Again, these are the problems I've been solving, but then it did do it later and gave me this one. Okay. So again, mine doesn't look as much like me. Yours looks a little bit more like you. We need to do some, yeah. We need to add some more photos to give it better reference material. But this is pretty damn cool, right? That like, I mean, this is, you know, in general, other than our likeness not being ideal, which is more on us because it doesn't have the best reference images. This is pretty damn good to like literally drop into your Slack, say, hey, I need a thumbnail that, you know, gets this message across, and then it comes up with it, and then you just get this back 10 minutes later.
Yeah, well, six months ago, you would have to go on Fiverr, hire someone, pay them $75, get it back in 3 days, be able to post your YouTube video, or do it yourself in Canva somehow, which is not going to happen. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So I just want to stop here because I mean, if anyone's even listening, if they're non-technical, okay, so like Hermes Agent, Claude, Slack, like right now, to me, the beginner AI person, I would just be like, why am I not just doing this in Claude? Like, why am I sitting in Slack? Why are we using a Hermes agent? Can't I just talk to Claude like this? Like, I know you and I know why, but like, what is the difference between this and why would you use Hermes agent versus like just telling Claude to do the same thing?
So that's a good question. In some cases, and I wonder if this example directly, literally just making thumbnails like this, you actually probably could do this in Claude or Codex directly. So for me, it's more about I want to be able to do lots of different things in one system that I'm already in, and I want my team to be able to do it. So I haven't invited my employees yet in here, but because I want to get it all working first. But I will be inviting my employees in here. And so the idea is to have all these different channels that solve different problems that have different agents with different, you know, solutions in them, that everybody can just go in here, ask for something, and they just get it in here, right? Now, that's just one angle, and maybe this is to your point. Again, you could probably do this in Claude directly. One other key component of Hermes, by the way, and this we need to do a whole show on this, Shane. I actually we were thinking about what topics we should do. Next episode, we need to talk about being tool agnostic. So there's a lot of reasons you don't want to be reliant on Claude or Codex. You want to be agnostic. That's a whole episode. So we'll talk about that later. But that's a key component of this too, is that it's agnostic to any tools. But then the other key component to Hermes agents is that they can do things autonomously without you even asking, right? So again, that's just more complexity. I haven't even gotten there yet. I'm just trying to solve these first versions. But then the next version is going to be, again, that whole stuff of like, hey, on a daily basis, I want you to go check my email, go check my LinkedIn account, go check the news, and like, bring me back this report, bring me this, do this. And like, these things will just happen automatically. Like, you don't tell it to do it. It just comes to you right
So
now. Yeah. But I'm sure you're thinking too, like Claude and Codex have incorporated, I can't remember what they call them, but like scheduled tasks. So they do, you know, you can do some of this stuff. Cause basically they recognized the value of Hermes, or it was OpenClaw first. And they're like, oh crap, we better incorporate all this, like things happening automatically. You don't have to ask for things. So there is some of it available in the tools. But again, I can't stress enough the value of being agnostic and having things all live in one place, I think is just so key.
Like the ideal workflow for, like, let's just call this specific thumbnail generator out is me and you do this podcast closes, and it shoots the transcript over to your Hermes agent. Your Hermes agent grabs it, runs through the Claude or the skill that you've given it here. It generates 3 different thumbnails, and it just shows up in this chat. And you are going on a run after this podcast, not making a thumbnail. And then we can have that up on YouTube within an hour, right? That's like the autonomous version of that whole thing. And that's the difference. And that's what I was trying to get at with, like, you can't do that with Claude. If I wanted to do that with Claude after this, I'd have to shut this down. I'd have to manually copy the transcript from Riverside, type it into Claude, and then sit there and kind of prompt it to its way to get the ChatGPT or the YouTube thumbnail done. But that's not autonomous. That's still great. It's still a lot easier than years ago. But this is the future of, like, you do the human work, and then the bots do the autonomous work at the back end. And then, so I think that's just one example. But I just wanted to, like, get that across to people, because, like, every time I get on a call with anyone that I'm working with, they're just the confusion between, okay, I bought Claude and it's not doing things for me, and why is everyone talking about autonomous agents, and I bought Claude and it doesn't work like that. And I think that's the biggest, like, what's going on with AI right now is, like, the difference between building AI autonomous agents, or digital employees is what I like to call them, and just talking back and forth with Claude and getting stuff done. Both are great and better than 3 years ago. One is, I think, the future. The other one is the present, I would say. So anyway.
Yeah, totally. And that's why I think you saw it, that Claude just came out. I think it was 2 weeks ago. They came out with a Slack bot, like a Slack agent that you can do. Now, again, we'll have to do the full episode on not being to be agnostic, but there's a lot of concern people have about that, because if you add that Claude agent to your Slack, if your company already runs on Slack, all of your company's information is in there, and it's able to read all of it. And then, you know, I've heard the term a couple times, like, you're basically renting your company from Claude at that point. Like, and what Hermes is basically that concept, but agnostic, to where you own it. You can change things out. You control it. And this is what the Palantir guy got a lot of attention. I think it was last week. I didn't see the whole thing, but I guess he went on CNBC and was kind of ranting and raving about this kind of concept of, do you really want to give up all of your data and all of your, you know, everything about your business to these LLM companies? It makes more sense to do the open source version so that you control it, right? And that's what Hermes can allow for. I mean, this GLM 5.2, which is basically not Fable 5 level, but pretty damn good, and it's cheap, you know, and you could put that in your Slack as kind of your primary driver, and of course change it out anytime you want. And I think the downside is it's just harder, right? This is what the frontier the labs, OpenAI and Anthropic, are doing, is they're making it simple. So for companies that aren't technical and they just kind of want to get this stuff going, it's damn easy to get into those ecosystems, right? The problem is, how do you get out, right? So
depends what kind of business you're running too. Like, I'm, you know, for your average, like, I don't know, like local business, like, I don't know if you have that much proprietary data other than, like, customers and financials. I wouldn't probably give it to that. But yeah, like, but then you dive into some larger businesses, and, like, yeah, you definitely don't want your data set going to the company that's trying to eat all companies. And so that's not great. But
or just I think the other angle, and this is where it really comes into, because you're right, a lot of companies will think, like, yeah, I mean, whatever, they have the data, they have everybody's data, they have Microsoft, or, well, maybe not Microsoft, whatever, they have all these Uber's data. Like, what are they gonna do with my $20 million company's data?
Yeah,
it's more about being locked in, and especially on the cost and memory side, right? And this is what, so again, we'll do a whole episode on, like, second brain concept, which is, you know, the goal is that these AI systems over time, you want your AI system to get so much better and smarter over time. But if that intelligence about your business is locked into the Claude ecosystem, you can't just move to OpenAI if they jack up your price, if they make things harder, if you're limited on tools and you want to try something else. Well, all of your memory is just in Claude.
Yeah.
Right. Everything you've done, you've built up all this, a year, 2 years worth of insane intelligence and systems and agents. It's not that you're literally locked in. You can cancel and go to OpenAI. You're just starting over. And so if you're going to start now, it makes more sense to put in the extra effort to start agnostic with a Hermes type of system or something else that you just build on your own, and just use GitHub, right? This is like what I'm working on, the system I just showed. All that intelligence that's happening behind the scenes is in GitHub.
Yeah.
So even if I decide to use Claude for whatever reason, like as a permanent paid Claude thing, I could literally just cancel and then just attach OpenAI to my GitHub.
Yeah.
And then it's there, right? And this is where I think most business owners just this is way too beyond what they can understand, right? And so the opportunity, that's just one opportunity here, right, is helping these businesses understand this stuff and implement the agnostic versions before they start going all in on one of these companies and then realize a year from now what a big mistake they made.
Yeah, that's a huge gap in the market is the information. You're getting fed all of the information from the big frontier labs and how good they are, and they're truly amazing. And then there's like a lot of people on, and it's pretty much only X I see talking about like open source and like like there's a little corner of the internet like just pecking away like, hey, you shouldn't do this. This is bad. Like, like it's not like giving Google a Google Drive, right? Like it's learning from your information. Like this is the whole thing around artificial intelligence. Like, so yeah, it's interesting. And so the GitHub, like the second brain thing. Okay, so I've seen a whole bunch of different things. Like some people use Obsidian. Linear is technically kind of like a second brain for you too. It's like acting as like a bit of a brain.
I wouldn't call it a brain because it's like managing tasks. So you could say it's storing data about different tasks that have been done. But I wouldn't consider that the second brain idea.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's so many different things to build that brain. For instance, like you use Beehive, parts of your company's in Beehive, like that's part of the brain, right? GitHub is just a bunch of like files that you've stored there basically that are now in Markdown, so LLMs can read them. Like, like Stripe is technically like connecting, and so this is where I'm getting at is like you unknowingly just connect. Like I connect Claude to everything. Like it has access to my Gmail, it has access to Stripe, like it has access to a lot of information. Like, and I'm not like someone to be worried about. Like,
yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like, it's crazy how easy that can get eaten up. Like, there's a lot of stuff, that's connected to, which is cool because once you connect all that stuff, right, you have that entire brain and it can pull anything. So,
well, I think, yeah, you're right, but I think the way to really think about it is like first of all, Obsidian, because this still confuses me. I think I have it down, but Obsidian, like you said, is basically kind of like Notion, but for Markdown files, right? It's just basically it stores Markdown files, which is just a version of text. It's like it stores. Yeah. You just think about it as a different version of like a Word document. It just stores Word documents, right?
Yeah. I think why a lot of people were obsessed with it too is that like it lives only locally on your computer.
Well, so, it can do the cloud too, but yes, it lives on it lives on your computer. But you can sync it. I'm pretty sure even without their paid version that syncs to their cloud. But here, let me real quick on how I think this works in terms of Obsidian versus GitHub is they don't have to be separate. They can be the same thing, right? Like I think about Obsidian now, as I think I've gotten smarter about this, is Obsidian can just be the way you view, or you can have different vaults in Obsidian, but it's not like it only lives in Obsidian. This is where things get confusing. Obsidian can just be the display layer of files you have in certain folders. So how I think about this is you have a folder on your hard drive that has all these different Markdown files, which is your brain, right? Intelligent things about your business. You sync that folder to GitHub so that it's permanently in GitHub, right? And then you also can use Obsidian to display those files. So they technically live officially on your hard drive and or GitHub, but then Obsidian is just like a display layer of it. Like if you want to use it. So the other angle that I think about using Obsidian for is to only use it for certain types of files, right? So here would be a simple way to think about it is, say I have like important brain information in a folder and worthless brain information, right? I would, and by worthless, I just mean like, think about it as like logs, AI logs, like things that you need to have that your AI creates that you need. You just don't need your brain to know it, right? And then there's this super important information. Here's what my product is. Here's the best marketing strategy. Here's things we've learned over the last 6 months, blah, blah, blah. Those are important. I would only connect an Obsidian vault to the smart, valuable information, okay? Because then Obsidian only has the valuable information. Your computer has all the information. Obsidian only has the valuable information. And then you can have your agents say you can only reference Obsidian. So now they don't waste their time looking at all the boring stuff that has no relevance. They only see what the good information is in Obsidian. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Like, especially for context.
Yes.
Loading everything in your GitHub every call would be nuclear.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I've been working on, and this is, I'm still, it's so freaking hard. It just sounds easy, but it's not, is to say, I want my Obsidian things have to get promoted to Obsidian if an agent scores their relevance at an 8 out of 10 or higher. So if it scores anything that comes in, like for example, auto pull in my Fathom transcripts, right, from all my Zoom calls. If it scores in terms of relevance to the important, which I would have a document of here's what makes things relevant or not. If it scores above an 8 out of 10, it gets promoted to the Obsidian vault. If it's a 7 out of 10 or lower, it just goes in the files, but not in Obsidian.
I see.
So then that way it's not on me as a human to do it. The AI can kind of decide. Now, will it make mistakes? Sure. But what you don't want, to your point, is what people talk about is like, if you just put everything everywhere, then like you run into the problem of just too much information and agent just like shuts down.
Yeah.
So it's like worse than nothing. Right.
Worse. Definitely worse. Yeah.
Yeah. So this stuff, again, I think the high level of what we're talking about here, Shane, I think you get it. And everybody probably gets it at this point, is like, there's so much power in this stuff if you can figure it out. But man, is it complex, hard. Don't let these influencers tell you this is just so easy. Just go spend 2 hours, tell it what you want it to build, and it's just going to do everything for you. It just doesn't work that way. But if you put in the energy, you get good, you learn, constantly iterate, right? When you learn something, then the next time do it better. Ideally have the agents iterate for you, or like, the failure logs. Have you heard of this concept? Like, hey, every time something fails, put it in a specific file that explains how it failed and how we overcame it, so that the agents can then look for that and then not let that same failure happen again. Like, these are the little things you can do, but you can't just do all this at once.
No, yeah, it's a work in progress. It like, there's a couple agents I'm working on for like 6 months that still don't work properly. Like, it's like
yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think the coolest part about all of them too is like, they're so unique to everybody. Like, software always used to be rigid, right? Like this is how a CRM works. Like, this is just it, right? Like a pipeline. Now it's like, you just customize it for you. You know what I mean? Like, your fail log is your own idea of a fail. It's like what some company told you is a fail. It's literally you for your business. I think that's the coolest part about all of this. Like, training your agents, training your employee, like all of that stuff. Like, that's the one thing I found is like, there's a million different ways now with AI, and they will build it a million different ways. It'll never be the same way ever, to get to the goal, like the outcome that you want. It's just like all of the little ways, like little, like, different options that you have, like customizations in between to get there. But I gotta say, man, after hearing you speak about all this, like you said that you're not very technical, but you were on fire there. So
yeah, well, I mean, I'm trying, here's the thing, man, for guys like us, it feels so good to like do this stuff. It's like a video game, right? Like, because I like to learn and I like to grow and I like to get better. And I have so many ideas of things I want to do. So it's literally fun for me to try these things. Now, of course, that makes it so much worse when they don't work and you run into these problems. But, I enjoy learning from this stuff. I'm still, again, it's like the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? It's like the smarter you get, the dumber you feel. And it makes sense, because the smarter you get, the more you realize what you don't know, right? All the people sitting out there like, go ask them, hey, do you know AI? Do you know how to use AI? Oh, of course I do. I chat with ChatGPT. I run my emails through there, and and it's like they think they understand something, but that's just because they don't know what's possible. Guys like us are on Twitter. We're watching YouTube videos. We're exploring this stuff, and we know we're still only doing 2% of what's possible, which means I feel like I'm 98% dumb, right? Which is frustrating. But then I tell myself, no, that's not how it is. But you just got to keep going. You just everything you do with this stuff is making you smarter about it. And I think for guys like us, that's going to be so much leverage in the long term. Is all the failures we have now, all the learnings that 99% of people are not doing right now, when they start doing it in the next 12 to 24 months, we're not going to be like 10x ahead of them. Probably not even 100. We're gonna be like 1,000x ahead, right? Like the scale is going to be so massive for people like us in terms of that gap that it's going to pay off massively. So playing with this stuff now, figuring it out now, even when you fail, it's going to pay off long term.
Yeah, it's going to be huge, and there's going to be a huge study done too of people that used AI with ADHD.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think so.
Saying that.
Yes. I actually, real quick, I just heard a guy talk about it. We should maybe talk about this on the next episode too. I'll have to find it, the details, but it was something about like the people who are going to succeed in this AI future are people who like to they like to put in effort to learn and grow in whatever way it is. Like this isn't specifically about what we're talking about with AI. It's just like people who get enjoyment out of trying new things, working hard, figuring things out, and building essentially. It's not about it was the point was specifically it's not about intelligence, right? It is absolutely not an intelligence thing. It's are you somebody who wants and needs to learn and grow, or are you somebody who only learns and grows because you're required to at your job, or you just don't do it at all, you avoid it at all costs, right? Those are like the three types of people: the people who hate it, the people who do it when they need to but don't if they don't want to, and then there's the people like us who like do it for fun. And the people who do it for fun are going to crush. So we'll see. I'm not crushing it yet, but I think over time I will, you will, and anybody probably listening to this will as well. So keep it up, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Episode 1 in the bank.
This was great. Hopefully the thumbnail will be up. You'll know that I made it my Hermes agent, anybody who made it this far. And excited to do this again, Shane.
Yeah. Thanks, TJ.
All right. See ya.